Benjamin Šeško.
Keane has a race on here to try and hold up Bryan Mbeumo. It's Šeško!
Bryan Mbeumo.
Who joins in? Bruno Fernandes.
Strips it in, Derby day!
Matheus Cunha.
We're on the turn. Oh, what a hit!
Senne Lammens.
Keane from distance!
What a hit! One even better save.
Pause there, because between those moments, something bigger is hiding. A striker who doesn't just attack space, he owns it. A wide forward who doesn't hug the touchline, he bends the pitch around him. A creator who doesn't wait for patterns, he breaks them. A goalkeeper who doesn't just save shots, he starts attacks. 4 signings, 4 different profiles, 1 coordinated shift. Because this wasn't a scattergun window, it was a blueprint. Before Carrick, under Amorim, and now inside a system that finally makes sense. The numbers are climbing, the roles are stabilizing, the ceiling is forming. This is how United's 2025-26 summer signings didn't just add depth, they quietly rebuilt the spine of the team. Let's start with the truth that made everything else necessary. In 2024, Manchester United finished 15th in the Premier League, 42 points. Their worst Premier League finish ever. Not a bad season, not a rough patch, their worst. So when the summer window opened, this wasn't about strengthening a squad that was close. This was about dismantling something that had stopped working and building it back from scratch, with a very specific blueprint in mind. Not names, not stars, not signings for the back page. United needed a forward who could create chances even when the build-up was chaotic. A wide forward who delivered end product consistently, not occasionally. A striker who gave them physical presence and a genuine penalty box threat. And a goalkeeper who could actually play football instead of just standing between the posts hoping for the best. 4 problems, 4 signings. And they happened faster than most people expected. Matheus Cunha came first. £62.5 million, release clause triggered in early June. The speed of it was a statement in itself. United weren't haggling, they were executing. Then came Bryan Mbeumo from Brentford in July, worth up to £71 million, a wide forward signed specifically for one thing: repeatable goals and assists, not just pretty dribbles that go nowhere. Benjamin Šeško arrived in August for around £73 million. The striker Ruben Amorim had reportedly pushed for: young, physical, a ceiling that genuinely excited people. And finally, Senne Lammens on deadline day from Royal Antwerp, a goalkeeper bought not for his reflexes, but for his feet. A modern keeper for a team that wanted to build from the back. Cunha, Mbeumo, Šeško, Lammens. After 15th place, United had stopped collecting talent and started constructing a spine. Now here's where it gets complicated, because these 4 didn't walk into a finished project. They walked into Amorim. Ruben Amorim had been appointed in November 2024, and he was still fighting to impose his ideas when the new signings arrived. His 3-4-3 system became the story of the summer. Week after week, he was defending it in press conferences. Week after week, pundits and analysts were questioning whether it was the right fit for the players he'd been given. When your manager is constantly explaining his own system, it usually means the results aren't doing the explaining for him. And yet, there were moments.
McAllister's down after a clash of heads. And Mbeumo's in and scores for Manchester United!
October, United 4-2 Brighton. Cunha scored. Mbeumo scored twice. United temporarily climbed into the top 4, and for one afternoon, everything Amorim had been promising suddenly looked real. The signings weren't just capable, they were electric. That game was the proof of concept. Wide forward delivering goals. Striker threatening. Creative midfielder pulling strings. The blueprint working exactly as intended. But football doesn't live in single afternoons. Analysts noted that despite the attacking talent, consistency remained elusive. Šeško's goals were sporadic. The spacing in Amorim's system was still being debated. The machine had the right parts, it just hadn't become a machine yet. Then came January 4th, a 1-1 draw at Leeds. 2 days later, Amorim was gone. Sacked after a meeting with club leadership. The Amorim phase closing just as quietly and abruptly as it had opened. And that's the most important thing to understand about this entire chapter. The signings weren't the problem. Cunha, Mbeumo, Šeško, Lammens, all 4 showed at different moments exactly why United brought them in. But they arrived into an environment that was still finding itself, under a manager whose system was still being questioned, inside a club that was still processing what 15th place had actually meant. The tools were right. The environment wasn't stable enough for the tools to become inevitable. That changes in the next chapter, because when the coaching context shifts, the exact same players can suddenly stop looking like a gamble and start looking like a plan. Michael Carrick didn't walk into Manchester United and start with a speech. He started with a problem. And the problem was brutal. United had just been knocked out of the FA Cup, at home, at Old Trafford, by Brighton. Darren Fletcher had been holding the fort in the interim, the club was in managerial limbo, and the dressing room had the energy of a team that had stopped believing in the plan. Carrick was formally confirmed on January 13th, and the brief wasn't about philosophy or long-term vision. It was simple: stop the bleeding, fast. What happened next is why this chapter matters. Because Carrick didn't arrive and immediately talk about the forwards. He didn't try to fix the attack first. He went straight to the midfield, and that one decision unlocked everything else. Kobbie Mainoo hadn't started a single Premier League game all season under Amorim. Carrick handed him his first league start immediately, in the Manchester Derby of all places. That tells you everything about how Carrick sees football. Mainoo isn't flashy. He doesn't score screamers or make the highlight reel. What he does is make the team harder to pull apart. He receives the ball under pressure. He turns through lines. He keeps the distances tight between midfield and attack. He's the kind of player whose contribution you only truly notice when he's not there. Carrick noticed. And the result? United beat City 2-0. Afterwards, Pep Guardiola stood in front of the cameras and said something he rarely says about opponents.
Well, the better team won.
Not a deflection, not an excuse, an admission. But Carrick wasn't done reshaping things. Bruno Fernandes got his position back. Not his shirt, his position. Under Amorim, Bruno had been asked to track back, press, defend. Important work, but work that pulled him away from the zones where he actually hurts teams. Carrick restored him to the number 10 role, higher up the pitch, between the lines where he can create early and often. And what looks like a small tweak on paper became a chain reaction on the pitch. When Bruno is higher, United create earlier. When United create earlier, Cunha doesn't have to force things in tight spaces. When Cunha isn't forcing things, Mbeumo receives the ball in cleaner positions. When Mbeumo gets cleaner transitions, Šeško gets cleaner chances in the box. The front four hadn't changed. The map had. And suddenly, four expensive summer signings who had looked like four separate purchases started looking like a connected system. Then came Lisandro Martinez. His return gave the backline something it had been missing. A defender who actually defends forward, who steps into space, who keeps the line brave when it would be easier to drop. Football analysts covering Carrick's early games described his influence as outstanding, particularly across the derby and the games that followed. And the important thing? When Martinez picked up a suspected calf issue and missed the Everton trip, United didn't collapse. They went to Goodison, stayed compact, pressed with purpose, protected their central spaces, and ground out the result. That's where Senne Lammens stopped being a footnote and became a factor. Everton pushed, United held. Lammens made the saves that mattered. A goalkeeper bought for his feet, earning his keep with his hands. Exactly the kind of player you need when a title race gets ugly and games stop being pretty. And then came the moment that basically summarized the entire summer in one 10-second passage of play. Cunha wins the ball, drives forward, breaks the press. And Mbeumo collects, turns, and feeds the final pass. Šeško finishes. Goal. 3 names, 3 roles, working exactly as the recruitment blueprint intended. Analysts who'd spent months questioning whether these signings made sense as a unit suddenly had their answer, not in a training ground drill, but at Goodison Park in a tight game, under pressure, when it actually mattered. That's the difference between Amorim's United and Carrick's United. The players didn't change, the clarity did. Under Amorim, the signings had moments, brilliant ones. But moments aren't a system. Under Carrick, United finally know what they're trying to do. Mainoo holds the shape. Bruno hurts teams in the spaces he loves. Martinez organizes the defense. And the front three execute the transitions they were literally bought to execute. Carrick didn't make the signings better. He made their actions connect. And when actions connect consistently, a gamble starts looking like a plan. Let's let the stats speak. Matheus Cunha, 6 goals, 2 assists, 88 touches in the opposition box. He's not drifting around the edges. His XG of 5.4 tells you the chances are real, and his counter at Everton, the one that started everything, tells you his impact goes beyond what any spreadsheet captures. Bryan Mbeumo, 9 goals, 3 assists, 105 opposition box touches. That last number is the one that matters. He's not a winger playing wide for decoration. He arrives. He finishes. He delivered the assist for Šeško's winner at Goodison with the calmness of someone who'd done it 100 times before. Benjamin Šeško, 7 goals, XG of 6.26, 45 aerial duels won. He's not manufacturing miracles. He's getting to the right places and converting what his teammates create. A physical, intelligent penalty box presence. Exactly what United had been missing for years. Senne Lammens, 48 saves, 5 clean sheets. Quietly dependable. At Everton, when the game could have slipped, he made the stops that kept the win alive. 4 signings, 1 spine, and it's already working. Now add 1 elite central midfielder, someone who controls tempo and protects transitions, and this stops being a Premier League story. It becomes a European problem. The system is there, the hunger is there, and for the first time in a long time, so is the foundation.